The coffee cup slipped from my tray in perfect slow motion, one of those moments where you see the disaster coming but can't stop it. Hot espresso arced through the air like a dark fountain and splashed directly onto the front of the most expensive suit I'd ever seen. Oh my God. The words tumbled out as I grabbed napkins with shaking hands. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The man didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just sat there in the corner booth of Celestino's, watching me with dark eyes that made my skin prickle with awareness. He was maybe 35, with the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jaw, straight nose, lips pressed together in what might have been amusement or annoyance. I couldn't tell which was worse. Sir, please, I'll pay for the cleaning. I was babbing now, dabbing uselessly at his jacket while my manager Anthony's voice echoed in my head. One more screw-up, Maya, and you're done. Stop. His voice was quiet. Accented Italian, I thought, but it cut through my panic like a blade. You're making it worse. I stepped back, clutching the soggy napkins, waiting for the explosion. For him to demand to speak to my manager, to get me fired, to make this terrible shift even worse. Instead, he pulled out his wallet. My stomach dropped. He was going to make me pay right now, and I had maybe $40 to my name until Friday. But he didn't hand me a bill for dry cleaning. He placed 5 crisp $100 bills on the table. $500. More than I made in a week. For your trouble, he said, those dark eyes never leaving my face. I can't. I'm the one who spilled. Take it. Not a request. A command. You look like you need it more than I need this suit. Heat flooded my cheeks. Was it that obvious that I'd been wearing the same 2 uniforms for 3 months because I couldn't afford new ones? Okay. That my shoes were held together with super glue? That I'd eaten nothing but ramen for the past week because my sister's insulin had cost more than I'd budgeted? Thank you, I whispered, taking the money with trembling fingers. It felt wrong, but I couldn't afford pride. Not when Alina needed her medications. He smiled then, and it transformed his entire face from intimidating to devastating. What's your name? Maya. Maya Torres. Maya. He said it slowly, like tasting wine. I'm Dante. Dante Caruso. The name meant nothing to me, but the way he said it suggested it should. Like he was used to recognition, to respect, to people knowing exactly who he was. Thank you, Mr. Caruso. Really, this is I gestured helplessly at the money. This is incredibly generous. Dante, he corrected. And it's not generosity, Maya. Consider it an investment. Before I could ask what that meant, Anthony appeared at my elbow, his face red and sweaty. Mr. Caruso, I'm so sorry for this incident. Maya is new. She's still learning. She's been here 6 months, Dante said mildly. I've seen her before. My heart stuttered. He'd been here before? I worked 5 shifts a week, and I'd never noticed him. But then again, I barely looked at the customers. Just took orders, delivered food, collected tips, survived. Still, Anthony continued, wringing his hands. This is unacceptable. Maya, if you fire her, Dante interrupted. Still watching me with that unnerving intensity, I'll take my business elsewhere. And I'll make sure everyone I know does the same. The threat was casual, almost lazy, but Anthony went pale. Of course not, Mr. Caruso. Of course we value Maya's employment. This was just a small accident. Dante stood, and I realized how tall he was, well over 6 feet. Broad-shouldered, moving with a predatory grace that made my breath catch. His suit was ruined, espresso staining the white shirt underneath, but he didn't seem to care. Good. He buttoned his jacket over the damage. Maya, I'll see you again soon. It sounded like a promise. Or a threat. I couldn't decide which. He left a $100 tip on the table and walked out, leaving me standing there with $500 in my pocket. And the strangest feeling that my life had just tilted sideways. 4 hours later, Anthony called me into his office. You're fired. I stared at him, the words not quite processing. But Mr. Caruso said, Mr. Caruso left. And without his protection, you're a liability I can't afford. Anthony wouldn't meet my eyes. You spilled coffee on one of the most important men in this city. Do you have any idea who Dante Caruso is? No. Then you're even more naive than I thought. He pushed a final paycheck across the desk. Clean out your locker. I need you gone before the dinner rush. I wanted to argue, wanted to fight. But the exhaustion weighing down my bones was too heavy. I took the check barely enough to cover this week's groceries and left without a word. The rain started as I walked home, because of course it did. 11 p.m. Fired, broke, and soaked to the skin. Just another Tuesday in my disaster of a life. My apartment building came into view, a sagging brick structure in a neighborhood where gunshots were background noise. Home sweet home. I was digging for my keys when I heard it. The screech of tires. The sickening crunch of metal. The explosion of glass. I turned just in time to see the black SUV flip, rolling twice before slamming into a streetlight 20 feet away. Steam poured from the crushed hood. Flames licked at the undercarriage. Run away, my brain screamed. Call 911, don't get involved. But then I heard it, crying. A baby, screaming inside that wreck. My feet were moving before I decided to move them, running toward the smoking vehicle. Through the shattered passenger window, I could see him. Dante Caruso slumped over the steering wheel, blood running down his temple. And in the back seat, still strapped into a car seat, a baby shrieking with healthy lungs. The flames were spreading. I didn't think. Just grabbed the door handle hot enough to burn and wrenched it open. Dante groaned as I unbuckled him, dead weight as I hauled him away from the vehicle. Then back for the baby, fumbling with the car seat straps while smoke filled my lungs. Got her free. Got them both away from the SUV. The explosion knocked me flat, heat washing over us as the vehicle became an inferno. I lay there on the wet pavement, a crying baby clutched to my chest, Dante Caruso unconscious beside me, and wondered what the hell I'd just done. His eyes opened, those dark, intense eyes, now clouded with pain. They found mine. You, he whispered. Again. Then he smiled. Bloody, beautiful, terrifying. You saved my life, Maya Torres. His hand found mine, grip surprisingly strong. Now you belong to me. He passed out before I could ask what that meant. I half-carried Dante Caruso up 4 flights of stairs while a screaming baby clung to my other arm. My neighbors, true to form, didn't even crack their doors. By the time I got him onto my futon, sweat poured down my face and the baby's cries had reached levels I didn't know were possible. Dante was conscious but fading, his expensive suit soaked with blood. When I reached for my phone, his hand shot out, gripping my wrist. No hospitals, no police. His voice was strained but commanding. That wasn't an accident. Someone tried to kill me. The baby wailed louder. She needs a bottle, Dante managed, pulling out his phone with blood-slicked fingers. Formula in the diaper bag. Should still be in the car. He made a call, rattling off my address from memory. How did he know where I lived? Then hung up. Your people are coming here. My voice pitched higher. To my apartment. Would you prefer I bleed out on your floor? He tried to sit up and went grey. The diaper bag. Please! I ran back downstairs. The SUV was still burning, but I found the bag thrown clear. Back upstairs, I discovered a pre-made bottle and got it into the baby's mouth. Blessed silence. Dante watched us, something unreadable in his expression. You're good with her. I'm terrified of her. There's a difference. 3 sharp knocks interrupted us. I opened the door with the chain attached. 2 men in dark suits stood there, looking like they'd stepped out of a mob movie. Luca Caruso, Dante's brother. The older one's voice was pure command. Let us in, say please. His eyebrow rose. Please. I let them in. 20 minutes later, Dante's bleeding was controlled, cracked ribs, head wound bandaged, various bruises. Luca worked with practiced efficiency, which raised questions I was afraid to ask. You're the waitress, Luca said, studying me. The one he's been watching. Watching? Ice slid down my spine. What does that mean? Dante doesn't make careless decisions. He's been coming to that restaurant for weeks. Learning everything about you. Luca's smile was cold. And he's decided you're important. I spilled coffee on him 6 hours ago, and yet you pulled him from a burning car, brought him here, cared for his niece without hesitation. Luca gestured at Dante. That's why he chose you. Chose me for what? Dante's eyes opened. Let me tell her, Fratello. He shifted on the futon, wincing. Maya, what do you know about the Caruso family? Nothing. We're one of 5 families that run organized crime in the Northeast. He said it simply, like discussing the weather. Everything that happens in this city, we have a hand in. The room tilted. Your mafia. Yes. I looked at the baby in my arms, then at the armed men in my apartment. I should call the police. You could, but you won't. Dante held out his hand. Come here, please. Against reason, I moved closer. He took my hand. My sister died in that crash. Isabella's mother. She was leaving the family, trying to start over somewhere safe. The Rossi family, our rivals, ran her off the road. Darkness crossed his face. Isabella is the last piece of my sister I have. She's also a target. I'm sorry, I whispered. Isabella needs to disappear. Somewhere the Rossis would never look, with someone they'd never suspect. His thumb traced my palm. With you, I laughed. I'm nobody. I live in an apartment with mice. I can't hide a baby from the mafia. Exactly. You're invisible to them. He sat up slowly. I'm offering you a job. 1 month as Isabella's nanny. Live at my estate while I eliminate the threat. I can't. $47,000. Your student loan debt, I'll pay it off. Your sister, Elena, the diabetic in Ohio, barely affording insulin will cover her medical expenses for a year. Plus $100,000 cash when the month ends. My mouth went dry. How'd you know about Elena? I do my research. His hand cupped my cheek. You're drowning, Maya. Working 60 hours and still can't keep your head above water. I'm offering you a life raft. 1 month caring for Isabella. In exchange for freedom from every debt crushing you. I looked at Isabella, sleeping peacefully despite everything. Then at my apartment, peeling paint, broken blinds, the hot plates I used because the stove didn't work. What if I say no? Then I find someone else, someone I trust less. His voice dropped. But I don't want someone else. I want you. You have the kind of heart that can't walk away from someone who needs you. It's why you'll say yes. He was right. Damn him. 1 month, I heard myself say. Then I'm done. Satisfaction flashed in his eyes. 1 month we should move, Luca said, before the Rossis start looking. Maya, pack a bag. Essentials only. Dante stood slowly. Everything else will be provided. Provided? You'll be living as part of my household. Clothes, anything you need. He smiled. I take care of what's mine. I'm not yours. This is business. Of course, he agreed, but his eyes said otherwise. 20 minutes later, I sat in a black Mercedes with Isabella in my lap and my life in one duffel bag. Dante beside me, armed men in front. As we pulled away, I watched my old life disappear. No regrets? Dante asked softly. I looked at Isabella, then at him. Ask me in a month. I will. His hand found mine in the darkness. And I already know your answer. I didn't ask what he meant. But, as his thumb traced circles on my palm, I felt the first flutter of fear. Not of him, but of how easy it would be to never want to leave. The Caruso estate appeared through the pre-dawn darkness, like something out of a dream or a nightmare. I hadn't decided which yet. Iron gates opened silently as we approached, revealing a tree-lined driveway that seemed to go on forever. Then the house came into view, and my breath caught. It wasn't a house. It was a mansion, 3 stories of stone and glass, lit from within like a jewel box. Fountains, sculptures, grounds that probably required a full-time staff just to maintain. This is where you live? I breathed. This is where we live now, Dante corrected softly. For the next month, the Mercedes stopped at the front entrance, where a woman in her 50s waited, perfectly dressed, despite the hour. Her sharp eyes catalogued me in seconds. Cheap clothes, no makeup, a borrowed baby in my arms, and I saw her judgment even as she smiled. "Mr. Caruso, thank God you're safe." "We heard about the accident." "I'm fine, Teresa. This is Maya Torres. She'll be staying with us as Isabella's caretaker." Dante's hand settled on the small of my back, possessive and warm. "Please prepare the nursery suite and ensure Maya has everything she needs." "Of course." "Sir." Teresa's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Right this way, Miss Torres." I followed her inside, and immediately understood what people meant by old money. Marble floors that reflected light like mirrors. A chandelier that probably cost more than I'd earn in my lifetime. Original artwork on walls that seemed to stretch up forever. My sneakers squeaked against the marble. The sound echoed. "The nursery's on the second floor, connected to your bedroom," Teresa explained as we climbed a staircase wide enough to drive a car up. "Mr. Caruso had it prepared 3 days ago." 3 days ago. Before the crash. Before he'd even asked me. He'd been that certain I'd say yes. The nursery was bigger than my entire apartment. A white crib with hand-carved details. A rocking chair that looked antique. Shelves already stocked with toys, books, supplies, everything a baby could possibly need, all in soft creams and golds. "Your room is through here." Teresa opened a connecting door. My room was equally overwhelming. A 4-poster bed. A walk-in closet already filled with clothes in what I assumed was my size. An ensuite bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. How did I start it? Mr. Caruso was very thorough. Teresa's tone suggested this wasn't a compliment. "Breakfast is served at 7 in the main dining room, lunch at noon, dinner at 6. Mr. Caruso expects you to join him for meals." "Expects?" "You're not staff, Miss Torres. You're a guest." "That means certain obligations." She smiled thinly. "I've left appropriate clothing in the closet. Mr. Caruso prefers a certain standard of presentation at his table. Translation: my Target clearance rack wardrobe wouldn't cut it. I'll leave you to settle in." Teresa moved toward the door, then paused. "A word of advice. Women come and go in Mr. Caruso's life. The smart ones don't get attached. The foolish ones end up hurt. Don't be foolish." She left before I could respond. Isabella chose that moment to wake up, fussing softly. I changed her, fed her, went through the motions while my mind raced. This was temporary. 1 month. Take care of the baby, collect the money, go back to my life. Except my life was already gone, wasn't it? No job. No apartment I could afford without that job. Just debt and struggle and the endless grind of barely surviving. A knock on the door startled me. Dante entered without waiting for permission, moving stiffly but no longer looking like he might collapse. "You should be resting." "I will, after I make sure you're settling in." He crossed to where I sat with Isabella, studying us both. "Everything you need is here. If something's missing, tell Teresa. You had this ready before you asked me. It wasn't a question. I told you. I do my research. I knew what you'd choose." He reached out, stroking Isabella's cheek with surprising gentleness. "I also knew you'd be perfect for this. You don't know me at all, don't I?" His dark eyes found mine. "You're afraid right now, overwhelmed, already planning your escape route, even as you hold Isabella like she's precious china. You're thinking this is temporary, that you'll take the money and run." He leaned closer. "But you're also thinking about how soft these sheets are, how good a hot shower will feel, how nice it would be to not worry about rent for once in your life." Heat flooded my cheeks because he was right. All of it. "There are rules here," Dante continued, "for your safety and Isabella's. You don't leave the estate without security. You don't tell anyone where you are. You attend family dinners as Isabella's caretaker. People need to see you to accept your presence here." "Family dinners?" My voice cracked slightly. "My world is built on perception, Maya. Isabella needs a caretaker everyone can see, can verify. That means you'll meet my associates, my business partners. You'll smile, be polite, And never ever mention what you're here. What will I hear? Things that could get you killed if you repeat them. He said it matter-of-factly. But you won't, because you're smart enough to understand that some doors, once opened, can't be closed. I should have been terrified. Should have demanded he take me home immediately. Instead, I asked, "When's the first dinner?" Something fierce flashed in his eyes. Approval. Possession. Tonight. 6 o'clock. Wear the blue dress in the closet. He moved toward the door, then stopped. "And Maya? Thank you for saving my life. For accepting this. For being here. You're paying me a lot of money to be here, yes, but we both know you would have said yes even without it." His smile was knowing. Because you can't walk away from someone who needs you. It's who you are. He left, and I sat there holding Isabella, surrounded by luxury I'd never imagined, trapped in a cage made of marble and gold and promises I wasn't sure either of us could keep. Outside, dawn was breaking over the estate grounds. Beautiful. Perfect. Completely unreal. I looked down at Isabella, who'd fallen back asleep in my arms. 1 month, I whispered to her. That's all. 1 month, and then we go back to normal. But even as I said it, I wondered what normal would look like after this, if I'd even recognize it anymore. 2 weeks passed in a strange rhythm that felt like playing house in someone else's dream. Days belonged to Isabella feedings, diaper changes, tummy time on a blanket that probably cost more than my car. She was easy to love, with her dark curls and ready smile, completely unaware that men with guns patrolled the perimeter to keep her safe. Nights belonged to Dante. It started innocently enough. He'd appear during Isabella's evening bath, watching from the doorway with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Then he started helping testing water temperature, choosing pajamas, reading bedtime stories in Italian that made Isabella coo with delight. "What are you telling her?" I asked one night, as he closed a leather-bound book of fairy tales. "That she's a princess. That she's safe. That her mama loved her more than anything in this world." His voice roughened on the last part. Sophia would have wanted her to know that. I saw his grief then, raw and real beneath the polished exterior. Without thinking, I reached for his hand. He looked at our joined hands like I'd performed a miracle. "Tell me about Sophia," I said softly. So he did. We sat in the nursery while Isabella slept between us, and Dante talked about his little sister, wild, rebellious, desperate to escape the family business. How she'd fallen for a civilian, gotten pregnant, tried to run. How he'd failed to protect her. "I should have let her go sooner," he finished, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "Should have given her money, protection, a clean start. Instead, I argued. Tried to convince her to stay. And while I wasted time, the Rossis found her. It's not your fault, isn't it? I'm the head of this family. Everyone's safety is my responsibility." His dark eyes found mine, including yours now. "I'm just temporary help. Are you?" He shifted closer, and suddenly the space between us felt charged. "You've been here 2 weeks, Maya. You know my routines. My weaknesses. Where I take my coffee. How I like Isabella's room kept. You fit into this house like you were always meant to be here." My heart hammered. "The month isn't over. No, it's not." His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "Tell me something. Are you happy here?" The question caught me off guard. That's not relevant. It's the only thing that's relevant." His fingers lingered against my cheek. "Your sister called today. Did you know?" I had my people connect the call to your new phone. I'd talked to Elena that morning. She'd cried happy tears because her insulin was covered, because she could afford the continuous glucose monitor her doctor had recommended for years, because for the first time since her diagnosis she wasn't drowning. "You didn't have to do that," I whispered. "Yes, I did. I take care of what's mine, Maya, and whether you admit it or not, I'm not yours," I interrupted, but my voice shook. "This is a business arrangement. 1 month. Then I leave. Then leave now." He said it quietly, but the challenge was clear. "If this is just business, if you feel nothing, walk away. I'll still pay your debts. Still take care of Elena. You're free to go. I should have taken the offer. Should have run before whatever was building between us became something I couldn't control. Instead, I stayed frozen, drowning in his dark eyes. That's what I thought. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. You feel it too. This thing between us, Dante, tell me to stop. Tell me you want nothing from me except money, and I'll never touch you again. His lips hovered inches from mine. But if you can't say it, Maya, then stop lying to both of us. I couldn't say it. God help me. I couldn't. He kissed me, soft at first, questioning, then deeper, when I gasped against his mouth. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back, and I forgot every reason this was wrong. Forgot that he was dangerous, that this was temporary, that I was supposed to be smarter than this. All I knew was the heat of his mouth, the strength of his arms, the way he kissed me like I was oxygen and he'd been suffocating. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. 1 month, he murmured. That's what we agreed. But Maya, I'm going to spend every day of it convincing you to stay. You can't. A sharp knock interrupted us. Luca entered without waiting, his expression grim. We have a problem. The Rossis know about the girl. His eyes flicked to me, then back to Dante, and they know about her too. Ice flooded my veins. What does that mean? Dante was already standing, his entire demeanor shifting from tender to lethal in a heartbeat. How much do they know? Enough. They have eyes on the estate. They're planning something. Luca's jaw tightened. Vincent thinks we should move them. Tonight. No. Dante's voice was absolute. This house is a fortress. Moving them now creates more vulnerability. Keeping them here makes them sitting ducks. Then we eliminate the threat. Dante moved to the window, looking out at the dark grounds. How many men do we have? 30 on the estate. Another 20 on standby. Double the perimeter. No one in or out without my explicit approval. He turned back to me and I saw the mafia boss clearly, now cold, calculating, absolutely ruthless. Maya, you don't leave Isabella's side. Not for anything. Understood? I nodded, unable to speak past the fear clogging my throat. Luca, call Marcello. Tell him it's time to send the Rossis a message they can't ignore. After Luca left, Dante returned to me, cupping my face with hands that had just ordered violence as casually as ordering dinner. I won't let anything happen to you, he said fiercely. Or to Isabella. You're safe here. I promise. How can you promise that? They know where we are, because I will burn their entire organization to the ground before I let them touch either of you. He kissed my forehead. Gentle, despite the violence in his words. You're mine to protect now, Maya, and I protect what's mine. After he left, I climbed into the bed beside Isabella's crib, watching her sleep peacefully, despite the danger circling closer. I'd thought the hardest part would be leaving when the month ended. I was wrong. The hardest part was realizing I was falling for a man who lived in a world where love could get you killed, and that it might already be too late to save myself. I woke to chaos, shouting in Italian, running footsteps, the unmistakable sound of guns being loaded. Isabella was crying in her crib, and I scooped her up on instinct, my heart hammering as I moved away from the windows. The estate was too loud, too frantic. The door burst open. Dante stood there in dark pants and an unbuttoned shirt, a gun in his hand, his expression carved from ice. Get dressed. Now, we're moving you to the safe room. What's happening? The Rossis are here. They breached the south wall. He crossed to me, checking Isabella quickly before meeting my eyes. I need you to trust me, Maya. Can you do that? I nodded, unable to speak. Teresa appeared, her usual composure cracked. Sir, Marco estimates 8 men. Maybe more. Get Maya and Isabella to the vault. Dante turned back to me, cupping my face with his free hand. No matter what you're here, you don't come out until I come for you personally. Not Luca, not Marco. Me. Dante. He kissed me hard, desperate, like it might be the last time. I will come for you. I promise. Then he was gone, and Teresa was pulling me toward a hidden panel I'd never noticed. A staircase descended into darkness, lit only by emergency lights. The safe room was steel-walled with surveillance monitors showing different angles of the estate. Teresa showed me how to lock everything down, her hands shaking despite her calm voice. "You'll be safe here, Miss Torres. No one has ever breached this room." She managed a thin smile. "Take care of that baby." The door sealed behind her with a sound like a tomb closing. Isabella whimpered against my chest while my eyes stayed glued to the monitors. I found Dante on one screen standing in the main hall with Luca and armed men, giving orders with lethal calm. Then the shooting started. I couldn't hear it through the reinforced walls, but I saw it on the screens. Muzzle flashes. Men falling. Dante moving through the chaos like a dark angel, his gun an extension of his hand. This was his world. Violence and blood and survival. One camera showed the nursery. 2 men were searching it, tearing through drawers, looking for us. One spoke into a radio, and I could read his lips. "They're not here." "Good. Stay hidden. Stay safe." The firefight lasted 20 minutes that felt like hours. Isabella finally fell asleep against my chest while I watched Dante orchestrate the defense with cold efficiency. When the last intruder fell, I counted bodies on the monitors. 8 men. None of them were Dante's people. I watched him survey the damage, then looked directly at the camera, feeding to the safe room. His expression transformed relief, raw and overwhelming. Minutes later, 3 knocks on the vault door. A pause. 2 more. The pattern he'd made me memorize. I opened it to find Dante, blood splattered on his shirt, a cut above his eyebrow, but alive. He didn't speak, just pulled me and Isabella into his arms, his whole body shaking. "You're okay," he breathed against my hair. "Christo, you're okay." "So are you." My voice broke. I watched on the monitors. "I saw everything. I'm sorry you had to see that." He pulled back to check me for injuries. "This is my world, Maya. Violence and danger and always looking over your shoulder. After today, the Rossis know you exist, know that you matter to me. They'll use that. Then what do we do?" "I end this. Permanently." The coldness in his voice sent chills down my spine. "I'm going to kill every single person who threatened you today. And when I'm done, no one will ever think about touching you or Isabella again." I should have been horrified. Instead, I kissed him. He responded immediately, one hand sliding into my hair while the other stayed protectively on Isabella between us. The kiss was desperate, affirming, alive. When we broke apart, his eyes were dark with promise. "You're mine now, Maya. Not for a month. Not for money. Mine." He rested his forehead against mine. "And I'm going to make sure the entire world knows it." "How?" His smile was dangerous and beautiful. "By giving you my name. My ring. My protection, official and absolute." He stroked my cheek. "Marry me, Maya. Not someday. Now." My heart stopped. "You're insane." "Probably. But I'm also right. The only thing keeping you safe long-term is being a Crusoe. My wife. Untouchable by family law." His thumb traced my lips. "But that's not why I'm asking." "I love you, Maya Torres. I've loved you since you pulled me from that burning car. Since you've loved Isabella like she was your own. Marry me. Choose this life. Choose me." Isabella stirred between us, yawning, completely oblivious to the proposal happening around her. I looked at this man, dangerous, possessive, absolutely lethal, who'd just killed to protect us. Who was offering me his name, his world, his heart? I'd already chosen. The moment I'd said yes in my apartment, I'd started falling. I was drowning in Dante Caruso, and I didn't want to be saved. "Yes," I whispered. His sharp intake of breath was audible. "Yes? Yes. I'll marry you." I cupped his face. "I choose this insane, dangerous, beautiful life. I choose you." "Maya," his voice broke. "I've been yours since the moment you looked at me like I was worth saving." He kissed me again, sealing a promise that terrified and thrilled me. When we surfaced, Isabella was watching us with wide, dark eyes. Looks like she approves, I murmured. Smart girl. He kissed Isabella's forehead, then mine. Welcome to the family, Farfalla, forever. 3 days after the attack, Dante kept his promise. He eliminated the threat. I didn't ask for details. Didn't want to know how many bodies it took to make the Rossi family disappear from the northeast. But I saw the results. The tension that had gripped the estate melted away. Guards relaxed. Dante slept through the night for the first time since I'd met him, and he started planning our wedding. 2 weeks, he announced over breakfast, setting down his espresso with decisive finality. That's how long it takes to arrange everything properly. I nearly choked on my coffee. 2 weeks? Dante, that's insane. People plan weddings for months. People don't have the resources I have. He slid a velvet box across the table. Open it. Inside was the most beautiful ring I'd ever seen. A flawless diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the morning light like captured stars. It was elegant, timeless, and probably worth more than everything I'd owned in my entire life combined. It was my grandmother's, Dante said softly. She gave it to my mother, who gave it to Sophia. It's been in the family for 3 generations. He took the ring, reaching for my hand. And now it's yours. If you'll have it. Tears burned behind my eyes as he slid it onto my finger. Perfect fit. Of course it was. How did you know my size? I know everything about you, Farfalla. His smile was warm, possessive. Your ring size, your coffee order, the way you hum to Isabella when you think no one's listening. I've been paying attention. Stalker, I accused, but there was no heat in it. Husband, he corrected. In 2 weeks. The reality of it hit me then. I was marrying Dante Caruso, becoming part of this world permanently. No more month-long deals or temporary arrangements. This was forever. What about my sister? Can she come? Already arranged. First-class flight, hotel suite, everything she needs. He reached across the table, threading his fingers through mine. Anyone you want here will be here, Maya. This is your day as much as mine. In your world, I think it's more your day. No. His expression turned serious. In my world, the woman I marry becomes my equal, my partner, my queen. He brought my hand to his lips, kissing the ring. You'll have everything I have, my name, my protection, my fortune. What's mine becomes yours. I don't want your money, Dante. I know. It's one of the reasons I love you. He stood, rounding the table to pull me into his arms. But you'll have it anyway. Along with security, respect, and a seat at every table that matters in this city. Isabella chose that moment to start fussing from her playpen in the corner. Dante released me to scoop her up, settling her against his shoulder with practiced ease. What do you think, Principessa? Should your mama marry me? He swayed gently, and Isabella grabbed his ear, babbling happily. I'll take that as approval. Watching him with her, this dangerous man turned soft and gentle, made my chest ache. I'm scared, I admitted quietly. Of what? That I'll wake up and this will all be a dream. That I'll be back in my apartment, broke and alone, and none of this will be real. I touched the ring, solid and heavy on my finger. Or that I'll disappoint you. That I won't be good enough for this life. Dante handed Isabella to me and cupped my face with both hands. You've saved my life when you had every reason to walk away. You've loved my niece without hesitation. You've faced down armed intruders and never once asked to leave. His thumbs brushed away tears I hadn't realized were falling. You're already more than good enough, Maya. You're everything. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're brave and kind and stronger than you think. He kissed my forehead. I know you take your coffee with too much sugar. That you're afraid of thunder but pretend you're not. That you sing off-key in the shower and think no one can hear. I laughed, despite the tears. You really are a stalker. And you're mine. In 2 weeks, you'll be mine, officially. His smile turned wicked. Then I can stalk you legally. That's not how marriage works. In my marriage it is. He kissed me slowly. Thoroughly, until Isabella squirmed between us in protest. 2 weeks, Farfalla. Then nothing and no one can ever take you from me. Later that night, After Isabella was asleep, I stood in the nursery watching the moonlight paint silver across the grounds. The ring felt foreign on my finger, beautiful and heavy with meaning. A knock on the doorframe made me turn. Lucas stood there looking uncomfortable. "Can we talk?" I nodded, and he entered, hands shoved in his pockets. "I owe you an apology," he said. "When Dante first brought you here, I thought you were just another woman looking for his money." "I was wrong. It's okay." "No, it's not." He met my eyes. "You saved my brother's life. You've made him happy for the first time since Sophia died. You've given him something to fight for beyond duty and revenge." He paused. "Welcome to the family, Maya. Truly." He left before I could respond, and I stood there feeling the weight of acceptance settle over me. This was real. This was happening. In 2 weeks, I'd walk down an aisle and promise forever to a man who'd turned my world upside down. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of the future. I was running toward it. The cathedral was older than the city itself, all soaring arches and stained glass that turned sunlight into jewels. I stood in the bride's room, staring at my reflection and barely recognizing the woman looking back. The dress was ivory silk, simple and elegant, with delicate lace sleeves that Dante had insisted on. "You deserve to feel like a princess," he'd said. And somehow, impossibly, I did. "You look beautiful, Maya." Elena's voice was thick with emotion. My sister stood beside me, healthy and glowing, the best she'd looked in years. Dante's money had done that, given her life back. "I can't believe this is happening," I whispered. "You deserve this. Happiness. Love. Someone who looks at you like you hung the moon." She adjusted my veil. "He does, you know. Look at you like that. Like you're the only thing in the world that matters." A knock interrupted us. Teresa entered, carrying Isabella in a tiny white dress with a flower crown that kept slipping over her eyes. "Mr. Caruso sent me. He wanted to make sure his Principessa was ready." Teresa's smile was genuine now. The ice from our first meeting long melted, and to give you this, she handed me a small box. Inside was a bracelet delicate gold links with a single charm. Sputterfly, Farfalla. The note inside read, "So you always remember who you are, even when you become who you were meant to be." Tears threatened my carefully applied makeup. "It's time," Teresa said gently. The walk down the aisle felt like walking through a dream. The cathedral was filled with people I didn't know, Dante's associates, business partners, family. The entire mafia hierarchy of the Northeast had come to witness this union, to see the waitress become a queen. But I only saw him. Dante stood at the altar in a black tuxedo that made him look like sin incarnate, his dark eyes locked on mine with such intensity I could barely breathe. Lucas stood beside him as best man, and Marco held Isabella, who babbled happily at the spectacle. When I reached him, Dante took my hands, and I felt the tremor in his fingers. He was nervous. This powerful, dangerous man was nervous. "Hi," I whispered. "Hi." His smile was soft, private, meant only for me. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You clean up pretty well yourself," the priest began speaking. But I barely heard the words. All I could focus on was Dante, the way his thumbs traced circles on my palms, the way his eyes never left mine, the way he smiled when I stumbled over my vows. "I, Maya Elena Torres, take you Dante Alessandro Caruso, ... my voice shook. To be my husband. To love and to cherish in this life, and whatever comes after." I'd added that last part myself. Dante's sharp intake of breath told me he'd noticed. "I, Dante Alessandro Caruso, take you, Maya Elena Torres, to be my wife." His voice was steady, commanding. To love, to protect, to honor above all else. My heart, my home, my everything. From this moment until my last breath and beyond. The rings were simple gold bands that felt impossibly heavy with meaning. When Dante slid mine on, his hand lingered, fingers laced with mine. "You may kiss your bride." Dante didn't wait for the priest to finish. He pulled me close and kissed me like we were the only two people in the cathedral, like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. The crowd erupted in applause, but I barely heard it through the pounding of my heart. "Mrs. Caruso," Dante murmured against my lips. "Mr. Caruso," I replied, and felt him smile. The reception at the estate was overwhelming, hundreds of guests, champagne flowing like water, music and dancing, and toasts that made me blush. But Dante never left my side, his hand always at my waist, anchoring me. "Tired?" he asked as midnight approached. "Exhausted? Happy? Terrified?" I leaned into him. "All of it. Come with me." He led me away from the crowd, through quiet hallways to the nursery where Isabella slept peacefully, watched over by a guard. We stood there together, watching her breathe, this tiny life that had brought us together. "I never thought I'd have this," Dante said quietly. "A family, a wife, something worth living for beyond duty and survival." He turned to me, cupping my face. "You've given me everything, Maya. You've given me everything too. A home, security, love." I covered his hands with mine. A reason to stop just surviving and start living. He kissed me softly. "Ready to start our life, Mrs. Caruso?" "I've been ready since the moment I pulled you from that car." His smile was beautiful. "Liar. You've been ready since I first kissed you and you kissed me back. 'Kay? Maybe then." He laughed and pulled me close, and we stood there watching Isabella sleep. Two broken people who'd found each other in the ruins and built something beautiful. Outside, the party continued, but here in this quiet moment, it was just us. A family, finally whole. 6 weeks of marriage, and I still wasn't used to waking up in Dante's arms. He slept like he did everything else, intensely, possessively, with one arm locked around my waist and his face buried in my hair. Like even unconscious, he was afraid I might disappear. "You're staring," he murmured without opening his eyes. "How do you know?" "I always know when you're watching me, Farfalla." He pulled me closer, kissing my shoulder. "Can't sleep? Too much thinking. About how different everything is?" I turned to face him, tracing the scar above his eyebrow, the one from the crash. 6 weeks ago, I was nobody. Now I'm married to the most powerful man in the city. You were never nobody. His dark eyes opened, serious. "You were always extraordinary. The world just hadn't noticed yet. Smooth talker, honest man." He kissed me slowly. "What else are you thinking?" Before I could answer, Isabella's cry echoed through the monitor. We both smiled. She'd started sleeping in her own room last week, a milestone that had made me ridiculously emotional. "I'll get her," Dante said, already sliding out of bed. "It's my turn. I want to." He pulled on pajama pants, looking back at me with such tenderness it made my chest ache. "I missed too many mornings with Sophia. I won't miss any with Isabella. Or with you." He left, and I lay there listening to his voice through the monitor, singing Italian lullabies that made Isabella's cries fade to happy babbles. This was my life now. Marble floors and silk sheets, and a husband who killed without hesitation, but cradled a baby like she was made of glass. My phone buzzed. Elena, sending pictures of her new apartment, the one Dante had bought her, fully furnished, near her diabetes specialist. "Thank you," she texted for the 100th time. "For everything!" I'd stopped trying to convince her I'd done nothing. In Elena's eyes, I'd saved her by marrying Dante. She didn't understand that he'd saved me just as much. Dante returned with Isabella, who immediately reached for me with grabby hands. "Someone missed her mama," he said, settling beside me as I took her. "Mama." The words still made my heart stutter. I wasn't her biological mother, but in every way that mattered, I was hers, and she was mine. "I have a meeting today," Dante said, running his fingers through Isabella's dark curls, "with the Costello family. Should be routine, but it might run late. Okay, I'd learned not to ask too many questions. About business. Some doors were better left closed. Vincent will be here. And Marco, you're perfectly safe." He kissed my forehead, then Isabella's. "But call me if you need anything at all. We'll be fine. Won't we, Bella?" Isabella grabbed my nose and I laughed. After Dante left, I spent the morning in the Solariama glass-walled room I'd claimed as my own. Isabella played on a blanket while I worked on my laptop, taking online classes to finish my degree. Business management, ironically. Dante had insisted on paying tuition. You should have everything you want, he'd said. Dreams included. Luca found me there around noon, looking uncomfortable. Can we talk? Of course. I set aside the laptop. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. He sat across from me, seeming to struggle for words. I wanted to say, thank you for what you've done for Dante. I haven't done anything. You've given him peace. Luca's expression was earnest. My brother has been at war his entire life. With our father, with rival families, with himself. But since you came into his life, he's single quotes s. Double quotes. He's happy. Actually happy. I haven't seen that since before Sophia died. Tears pricked my eyes. He makes me happy too. Good. Because he'd burn the world down if anyone hurt you. Luca stood, then hesitated. There's something else. Dante doesn't know I'm telling you this, but I think you should know. My stomach tightened. Know what? The Costello meeting today. It's not routine. They're proposing an alliance, one that would make our family the most powerful in the Northeast. He met my eyes. But there's a cost. They want access to our territory, a seat at our table. And they want assurance that Dante's committed to this life long term. He's committed. They don't believe it. They think you're a weakness. That love will make him soft. Luca's jaw tightened. They're wrong. You've made him stronger, more focused. He has something to protect now, something worth fighting for. What are you saying, Luca? I'm saying that today's meeting will determine the future of this family. And whether some people like it or not, you're part of that future now. He smiled slightly. Welcome to the deep end, Maya. After he left, I held Isabella close, looking out at the manicured grounds that had become my home. This was my life. Beautiful and dangerous and utterly surreal. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. That evening, Dante came home late, exhausted but triumphant. The alliance is done, he said, pulling me into his arms. The Costellos agreed to everything. Our family is secure. That's wonderful. I touched his face. Are you okay? Better than okay. He kissed me deeply. Have you, Isabella, a future I actually want to live to see? I'm perfect. We stood there in the quiet foyer, holding each other while Isabella slept upstairs, and I realized something. I'd stopped counting the days since the crash. Stopped thinking about my old life as something I'd lost. Because this Dante, Isabella, this dangerous, beautiful family, this was my life now. And I'd never been happier. 3 months into our marriage, I thought I understood Dante's world. I was wrong. It started with a phone call at 2 a.m., Dante's phone lighting up the darkness, his expression going cold as he answered. When? A pause. I'm on my way. He was out of bed immediately, pulling on clothes with military efficiency. What's wrong? I sat up, fear clawing at my throat. Vincent's been taken, ambushed on his way home from a meeting. His voice was ice. The Costellos are claiming it wasn't them, but someone wanted to send a message. What kind of message? That I'm not as untouchable as I think. He strapped on a shoulder holster. The gun, a dark reminder of the violence always lurking beneath our life. I need to handle this. Dante, you stay here. Marco will be outside your door. Don't open it for anyone except me or Luca. He cupped my face, kissing me hard. I love you. Remember that. Then he was gone, and I was alone in the darkness, terror making it hard to breathe. The hours crawled by. Isabella woke at 6 and I went through our routine on autopilot, feeding, changing, playing while my mind raced with horrible possibilities. Luca called at 8. We found Vincent. He's alive, but hurt. Dante's handling the situation. Handling how? You don't want to know. He hung up before I could ask more. At noon, Teresa found me in the nursery, her face grave. Mrs. Quote, Caruso, there are men at the gate. They say they're from the Moretti family. They want to speak with you. The Morettis. I knew that name, one of the 5 families, rivals who'd maintained an uneasy peace with the Carusos for years. Tell them to leave. My husband isn't here. They don't want to speak with Mr. Caruso. They want to speak with you. Teresa's hand trembled slightly. They say it's about Isabella. Ice flooded my veins. What about Isabella? I don't know, but Marco says we shouldn't let them in without Mr. Caruso's approval. Then call Dante. Now. But Dante's phone went straight to voicemail. So did Luca's. The men at the gate weren't leaving, and with every minute that passed, my anxiety grew. Finally, I made a decision. Let one of them in. Just one. Marco can be in the room with us. I looked at Teresa. Put Isabella in her room with 2 guards. No one gets near her. 10 minutes later, I sat in Dante's office with Marco standing behind me, hand resting on his weapon as a silver-haired man in an expensive suit entered. Mrs. Caruso, thank you for seeing me. His smile was polished, practiced. My name is Anthony Moretti. I apologize for the intrusion, but this matter couldn't wait. What matter? I kept my voice steady despite my hammering heart. Isabella Caruso, or, as she was registered at birth, Isabella Moretti. He pulled out a document, sliding it across the desk. You see, Isabella's father, Sofia Caruso's lover, was my nephew, which makes Isabella my blood, my family. The world tilted. That's not possible, Dante said. Dante said what he needed to say to keep Isabella under his control. But the truth is, Isabella has Moretti blood, and under family law, we have a claim to her. His smile never wavered. I'm here to negotiate her return. Absolutely not. I stood, fury burning through the fear. Isabella stays here. She's a Caruso. She's Dante's niece. She's my daughter. Legally, she's neither. You're not her biological mother. Dante's not her biological father. We have more claim to her than either of you. He leaned forward. But I'm a reasonable man, Mrs. Caruso. I don't want to traumatize a child with a custody battle, so I'm offering you a deal. What deal, Isabella, in exchange for peace? No more conflicts between our families. No more violence. A clean truce. His eyes glittered. Or we take this to the commission, and they'll rule in our favor. Either way, we get the child. But this way, everyone survives the process. My hands clenched into fists. You can't have her. I can. And I will. The only question is how much blood gets spilled in the process. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. You have 24 hours to discuss this with your husband. After that, we'll proceed through official channels. And Mrs. Caruso, I'd think very carefully about your answer, because defying the commission doesn't end well for anyone. He left, and I collapsed into Dante's chair, shaking. Marco was on his phone immediately, speaking rapid Italian. 5 minutes later, the door burst open. Dante strode in, blood on his knuckles, his expression murderous. Tell me everything, he commanded. So I did. And with every word, I watched his fury build until it was almost tangible. When I finished, he pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. They can't have her, I whispered against his chest. Dante, we can't let them take her. We won't. His voice was absolute. I don't care what the commission says. I don't care what family law dictates. Isabella is ours, and no one takes what's mine. He pulled back, cupping my face with hands that still trembled with rage. Do you trust me, Maya? Yes. Then trust me when I say I will end anyone who tries to take our daughter. The darkness in his voice should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like safety. The Morettis just made the last mistake they'll ever make. He kissed me once, fierce and claiming, then turned to Marco. Call everyone. Every soldier, every ally, every favor we're owed. We're going to war. The war lasted 3 days. I didn't see most of it. Dante kept me and Isabella locked in the safe room with guards rotating every 6 hours. But I heard the results through Luca's updates. The commission ruled in our favor. The Moretti claim was based on falsified documents. S'Anthony Moretti had fabricated the connection, hoping to leverage Isabella for power. When Dante presented the real birth certificate, proving Isabella's father was a civilian with no family ties, the Moretti's case collapsed. Anthony Moretti disappeared the night of the ruling. No one asked where. On the fourth day, Dante came for us personally, looking exhausted but victorious. "It's over," he said simply. "Isabella is legally ours. Adoption papers filed, approved, final. No one can ever challenge it again." I broke down sobbing in his arms while Isabella babbled happily, oblivious to how close we'd come to losing her. 6 months later, I stood in the nursery, now redecorated in soft yellows and greens, watching the sunset paint gold across the grounds. Isabella was almost a year old now, walking and babbling Mama and Papa with equal enthusiasm. She'd started calling Dante Papa 3 weeks ago, and he'd cried. Actually cried, this dangerous man undone by a toddler's first word. Arms wrapped around me from behind, and Dante's chin rested on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured. "Everything. How different life is now compared to a year ago." I leaned back against him. "How I almost didn't answer your call that night. How close I came to just walking past that crash. But you didn't. You saved me. Saved us." His hands settled on my stomach, and I felt him smile against my neck. "It's all of us." I covered his hands with mine, feeling the slight swell there that we'd only confirmed last week. It's 12 weeks along. A baby boy, according to the ultrasound Dante had insisted on doing privately at the estate. "Are you scared?" I asked. "Terrified. Excited. Everything at once." He turned me to face him, but mostly grateful that I get to have this. A family. A real family, not just the one I was born into. "You're going soft, Mr. Caruso. Only for you, Mrs. Caruso." He kissed me softly. "And for them." We stood there watching Isabella play with her blocks, this tiny person who'd brought us together and changed everything. "Do you ever regret it?" Dante asked quietly. "Saying yes that night? Choosing this life?" I thought about my old apartment, the endless double shifts, the constant fear of not having enough. Then I thought about waking up in Dante's arms, watching him read bedtime stories, seeing him teach Isabella Italian, feeling safe for the first time in my life. "Never," I said firmly. "Not once. Not ever." "Good," he pulled me closer. "Because I plan to spend the next 50 years making sure you never do. Only 50. 50 minimum. I'm greedy when it comes to you." His smile was warm, genuine. "Want forever. Far, farla. Every possible moment. Then you'll have it." I touched his face. This beautiful, dangerous man who'd given me everything. Forever sounds perfect. Later that night, after Isabella was asleep and the house was quiet, we lay in bed talking about the future. Names for the baby, whether to expand the nursery or create a new one. How to tell Isabella she'd be a big sister. "She'll be amazing at it," Dante said confidently. "Just like her mother." "I'm not her mother, not really." "Yes, you are. Biology doesn't make someone a parent, love does. And you love her like she's your own." He kissed my forehead. "Just like you'll love this baby. Just like you love me, somehow." "Somehow," I agreed, smiling. "Despite all your stalking and possessiveness." "That's not stalking. That's dedication. That's literally the definition of stalking." He laughed, and the sound filled me with warmth. This was happiness. This moment, this life, this family we'd built from ashes and accidents and impossible choices. "I love you," Dante whispered into the darkness. "More than I thought it was possible to love anyone. I love you too." I curled into him, safe and warm and home. My dangerous, possessive, wonderful husband. "Your husband," he agreed. "Forever." A year ago, I'd been a waitress struggling to survive, invisible to the world, drowning in debt and fear. Then I'd spilled coffee on a stranger, pulled him from a burning car, said yes when any sane person would have run. And somehow, impossibly, I'd found everything I'd never known I needed. A home, a family, a love worth fighting for. I'd been nobody, just a waitress holding a baby, scared and desperate and barely surviving. Now I was Maya Caruso's wife, mother, queen of an empire built on danger and blood and unbreakable bonds. And I wouldn't change a single moment of the journey that brought me here. Not the fear, not the danger, not the impossible choices, because all of it, every terrifying, beautiful moment, had led me to this. To him, to her, to us, to home, to forever.